Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out the radio version of the show every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta. We also air on a podcasting network in Los Angeles called the 405 Media. There's a TV version of the show that airs on KMVT 15 in Silicon Valley at 8 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday nights. Both versions of the show air in other states. For these show times, plus past episodes, please visit the show's website at buildingthefutureshow.com. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com. Join me at the 10th Annual Media Excellence Awards on January 18th in Beverly Hills, California. The attendees and I will be celebrating innovation and leadership in technology and entertainment. There are 20 award categories with 1,000 nominees. These awards honor those who are creating groundbreaking technology to better our lives and celebrate the hard work, determination, and brilliance in the leadership within the companies which create the new world we live in today. I will be recording nominees and winners at the awards. For tickets and more information, go to MediaXAwards.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Tariku Bogale. He's a film producer, actor, philanthropist, entrepreneur, advisor, author, and writer. Tariku, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you on the show. You've done some incredible things in your life so far. You're continually doing a bunch of really incredible things. But maybe before we kind of get into some of that stuff, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
I grew up in Ethiopia, in southern part of Ethiopia.
Okay.
And I was born in Addis, and but my family lived in southern part of Ethiopia.
Okay, very cool. So if I remember correctly, you have a lot of kind of brothers and sisters. Is that correct?
Yeah, my father had numerous wives, which he was married, so he had kids from multiple relationships, which he had.
I see. So what was the total, just out of curiosity?
Wow, for me, even a number. When I remember, it was around 13, and he might have added maybe a few more.
Wow, no, that's really cool. So you've kind of had a bunch of kind of, university kind of college training. Do you kind of want to walk us through your educational background? Because I think it's actually really fascinating, and the battle kind of cats tactical assault stuff for the movie I thought was kind of interesting. So do you want to kind of walk us through your kind of educational background?
My education, starting from like high school, I was very active in my school, and also I was very active in my communities. So, and I had also encounters with like NGOs from overseas.
Sure.
As you know, Ethiopia has I think still the struggle with poverty, and there are a lot of non-profit organizations, coming to Ethiopia to help after the famine which Ethiopia had before like 30 years ago. So from high school, I had a lot of encounters with foreign nationals. I was communicating as well with the University of Florida, whom I had contact through the non-profit organizations such as like Peace Corps. They were there where I grew up. So like when I was grade 10, I was sending I was applying for scholarship at University of Florida.
Okay.
Still being in high school. And the research which I was doing was technically, it was university level research which I was doing for University of Florida. It's more related to environmental kind of research.
Okay.
And
cool.
So technically the high school part of my things, I didn't like my final phase of my high school. I was quite busy looking outside of Ethiopia because I saw a limited opportunity for me before I finished my high school. And so I looked for. And when I came to South Africa, I self-funded myself and working and also studying part-time.
Okay.
And I was admitted to university to do. I went a few times, but it's not easy for me working and still also doing your study, especially if you have got your own business which you are running.
Sure.
That stays with your mind, even if you go to school and still, So I had a lot of things, but I had a lot of effort to get my degree and this and that. So a few times I dropped out back and forth, and also I was admitted for masters in for MBAs without no formal degrees or diplomas a couple of times, and also I was admitted in Europe to do masters without formal degrees. And yeah, my love relation with education it's been there for some time.
No, that's great, man. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of get into kind of, you were kind of one of the big kind of driving forces behind AfricaHoldings.com, which eventually you sold, correct? Do you want to maybe kind of give us a bit of history on that company and kind of your other entrepreneurial ventures kind of before, the book and the movie and the other things that you're involved in today?
Yeah, that is quite quite a question. I think did you read my book?
I have not read it. I read parts of it, but yeah.
Okay, you should read my book, so it'll give you a little background of
Sure.
what really happened with my company. Okay, listen, I am a serial entrepreneur, so I've got a lot of ideas.
Sure.
I come up, like, I refresh my skills now and then, and
Sure.
and I do something and I accomplish it, I get bored. So I was Africa Holdings. I started this company some times ago. It had a lot of companies under its umbrella. Some 10 to 15 companies, I could say, which was under it, but most of them I didn't pull it off.
Okay.
It's like a blueprint which I had a grand vision of connecting Africa to the West, or and facilitating trade and investment. So it's quite a quite massive project.
Sure.
It's not like a massive project, but I developed the blueprint, and there were a lot of pushbacks for me just to focus on this Africa Holdings. So it's a kind of like, technically there are some lines has been crossed.
Okay.
Which I feel that the line which has been crossed has bought the company, and I haven't got yet paid. So it's a kind of like, when you get my book called Unstoppable Challenge Accepted, you'll see what was happening around. So finally, it kind of like drained my energy, and I just kept it aside, and I said, okay, this company is sold to these people who might have crossed my line. So I'm looking forward for my payment.
I see.
But
interesting.
It is a company that has a huge potential. It can be a multi-billion company because the blueprint is there. It's a matter of structuring the financial, and also because the industry is already identified. If you see the website, it is quite
sure. Yeah.
It has got quite a good blueprint in what direction to go, in what strategy to move, to invest and those kind of stuff. So it is a good company which I'm looking forward to be paid.
No, I think that's great. That's actually really cool. And so I'm kind of curious though. I think you're being a little bit kind of like modest a bit. Like you, I think are very kind of inspiring in kind of what you've done and you continue to do. And I think the book kind of covers like some great kind of success stories, and kind of, can be inspiring to people that come from all different kind of backgrounds. And so I want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of what exactly kind of the book covers.
Let me tell you honestly, there are a lot of people who read the book. The book entirely is not writing my entire life stories.
Okay.
If you have to cover every chapter that you see, there are 15 chapters, and those 15 chapters, it could be 5 books, which could be over 1,000 pages.
Sure.
We didn't. Well, I had a lot of input from people who read and say, listen, we are still in chapter 1 and we don't know what in chapter 1 happened, but you are just telling us you started from here and you are in this point. We don't know the journeys you took that through, and we need some more information on that. So it's not telling the entire path of my life.
Sure.
That's why the title itself is Unstoppable, because I had non-stop kind of things happening in my life. So while in chapter 1, before even digest, you are jumping to chapter 2, which is a different subject, nothing to do with that one. So it is not giving you a link to understand really what was from A to B, what happened, but just tells you I was in A, then you find me in B, but it's not telling you the path from A to B A to B what happened really. So it's not detailed. It's kind of like an overview of my life story. I mean, when you read the book, you'll understand.
Got you.
What. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think the thing is that I find always kind of interesting about stuff like that is some people think that they need to follow step by step like how somebody else did it, but it doesn't really work like that. Like everybody's got their own path to follow, and like even if you try to follow somebody else's path, you just can't because you don't have the same kind of lifestyle or circumstances or geographic location or like it's almost impossible. You need to figure out how to kind of do it yourself. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So I really kind of want to cover all the stuff that we cover today. So you also have a movie called Bloodline, and it's up for a couple awards. Do you want to kind of talk about the movie and kind of the awards?
Yeah, I did a film which I am the producer, I'm the writer, and I'm the lead actor.
Sure.
Actually, also I'm ghost directing it. Technically, I'm a director of the film. So it might be very overwhelming for audience or for the people to find out that I'm having multiple hats in my head, and so on this one, which I use different name as a director. So Bloodline is about. I'm sure you heard about the rhino poachings.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. So it is quite rife here in South Africa, and in Africa they are becoming more extinct, and they are endangered wildlife. So I felt I need to do something about this rhino issue. So when I was presenting the project, I saw something which I can do for this world, and it was a very challenging project. But the film it shows really what's happening on the ground. It's very controversial because there are a lot of beneficiaries on the rhino poaching, especially here in Africa and South Africa.
Sure.
So yeah, so it was not easy, especially for a person that never been in acting and never done film makings. And for me to grasp and to learn fast and to adapt to the film industry and deliver a world-class film, which I think it might get by surprise the Oscar and Golden Globe members.
Sure.
So it has been submitted, and we are screening from tomorrow, which is the 1st of December to 7th December in Los Angeles, just for 7 days for limited screening, just to qualify as part of the application process to qualify for the Golden and for the Oscar.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so
that's very cool, though.
I'm quite excited. Yeah, I'm quite excited. I'm looking forward. Yeah.
So I'm curious then. Did you kind of self-fund the movie? Did you get a studio, or kind of how did you get this thing actually made?
The film is quite controversial and quite high risk.
Okay.
And so if you see my pattern of businesses, I more like challenging and high risk kind of projects which I've been doing.
Sure.
Where people are scared to go in and to do it. So this Bloodline is the same thing. There's no studio or there's no filmmaker will go out and says, I'm gonna make this film, or I'm gonna expose really what's happening with poaching.
Sure.
There are a lot of documentaries out there, but most of them, they are not telling you really what's really happening, because everybody trying to push their own motives. Because in South Africa, South Africa is allowed to buy and sell rhino horns, while it's banned all over the world. So it's quite a risky project, and even getting funding, because nobody wants to associate with this film.
Right.
So I couldn't get funding as well, even if there are funding for making films. Like if you go to Canada, the government gives you some fundings to make films.
Yeah.
Or they give incentives here and there. So with Bloodline, I didn't get it. So I have to self-fund myself.
Interesting.
And I think there's no first filmmaker or an actor or producer that puts his own money and makes a film to be an actor.
Sure.
So what I've done is it's quite high risk, and it's quite frustrating for me to see what the outcome is going to be, because a lot of money has been put in. There are also risk has been taken to put this film on screen.
No, I think that's great though, and that is kind of inspiring story in itself, right? That you kind of
Yeah,
just were passionate about something, and and you made it happen for yourself. I think that's really great. So
yeah.
I'm curious though. You also have this startup-workshop.com where you're doing this kind of stuff on the business side with mentorship and development and stuff. What exactly is Startup Workshop, and why did you kind of decide to do it?
Starter workshop. Uh, it is to support entrepreneurship and education.
Okay.
What does mean that is that a lot of people's like they need guidance and mentorship. It's not like I'm intending to give them a blueprint
Sure.
how to succeed on this and that. It is more on experience side, like on Q&A. If you see my life, I have touched a lot of businesses.
Sure.
You will find a lot of people who claim to be mentors,
Mm-hmm.
and they write guidelines and books how to be a millionaire or how to be rich or how to do this and that. So with startup workshop, I'm not coming from that angle. More, it is like an Q&A. Through the life which I had, I have answers for every startup entrepreneurs. I've
Interesting.
been in that real experience. If they throw any kind of questions to do with business or life experience, I have somehow went through that footstep that I could be able to answer. So it's not like as such I have to write them a guideline or blueprint of how to do a formula for them. No, the formula is my life experience, which I experienced multiple industries,
Sure.
and I've done multiple business. I've traveled a lot, so I could be able to answer the questions which any startup has. So it's more like a Q&A sessions, not like a kind of like I'm on a stage and try to give them motivation or inspiration of how this and that happens. It's not. Startup workshop is 100% like Q&A. Any audience any audience has any questions to answer for their questions, anything to do with business or life experiences. So I'm taking my own life experience and try to answer the challenge which I have. Unlike what's happening really now, people calling themselves motivational business, this and that. If you see all their profiles which I've been tracking, they haven't done any kind of businesses or they haven't been in that journeys, but they tend to answer or they tend to know when they've never been in that kind of experiences.
Sure.
So that is by itself for me. Startup workshop by itself is quite a good project, especially for a lot of startup and business peoples, because they all have a real experience, a real answer from real experience, unlike all these motivational business guidance, business whatever it is you call them. If you just all their profiles, trust me, they're never done in order to give a guidance or advice. Trust me. I mean, even if you look on the billionaires themselves, you just find them overnight they are billionaires. Now they tend to give you advice on how to be this and that. So that also is quite frustrating and scary for someone who wants to start a business, because they are not telling you how the journey, or they cannot even answer the frustrations, the question which every startup has.
Sure.
So that's where, through my experience, through my startup workshop, where I intend to answer the questions which they might have. Do you copy there?
No, I think that's great, and I do like that, because like anybody that kind of just Googles you or goes to your LinkedIn page, like we're only kind of scratching the surface of the stuff that you've kind of been involved in. You've done stuff in kind of travel and tourism, retail, real estate, finance, technology, obviously kind of media and book, or writing a book and being an author and kind of a filmmaker. So you're right. Like you have this kind of diverse background across a bunch of different industries on and offline, right? And I
Yeah.
think just have it. And to be fair, I think the fact that weren't born in kind of North America, giving kind of an outside perspective to kind of the global world, and like you said, you've traveled a lot, can bring a lot of valuable experience, because I think a lot of people, especially in North America, just think about, well, if I crack America, I'm going to have a really great business. And that can be true, But there's a lot of other markets across the world that you could very much build a really good business that you might not be a billionaire at, but you don't need to be a billionaire to build a really good business to, live a fulfilling life and do something you love. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, that's the one. It's a kind of like, it can touch a real it can answer the real core questions every startup, every business might have. I could have the answer for them.
Sure.
Based on my life experience with my business encounter, which I have. So the startup workshop is running workshop and interviews based on Q&A. Just as a Q&A, take questions and answer. That's it.
Sure. So do you do those kind of in person or on Skype or something, or a bit of both?
No. It is just Parker now because okay. I'm busy with my filmmaking, which I've invested heavily.
Right.
So with the startup workshop, I don't know when it's going to happen.
Okay.
It might be sometime in the future because it by itself it's a massive platform which it needs you to travel here and there and have a Skype course and whatever it is, marketing and the book. I think that one will be parked most probably for. I think I'm ahead of my time, so this could be sometimes up to a long time because I can't put my feet everywhere here and there. So
sure.
I just come up with ideas, I just build up things. So I've got like a short lifespan, like a year, So when I started this one, I was in LA, and I saw platforms there, either through TV, where you have maybe 30 minutes TV things, and you just take in questions and you answer, and you got audience, So it needs its own platform to work on a startup workshop.
No, I think that's great. So you're also kind of working on an app called ConnectSocial. What exactly is that, and why did you decide to kind of create it?
If you see it like now on the social platform, there are a few big dominant social networking platforms, which dominates and has a monopoly of the technology. So they are not providing alternate for consumers.
Okay.
So with ConnectSocial, it's a platform very similar with Facebook, but it will have the best of platforms from where it is like how can I say it's gonna go head on with Facebook. Let me say it that way.
Interesting.
If you see Facebook, they have marked their gross panels. They are sitting now on 2 billion users.
Yeah.
Which our population is 7 billion, and below certain age, it could be another 2-3 billion populations. So they have capped their market segment. So there are room for another one to kick up, and because people they like to experience and they like to test. So I saw a market niche to launch a social platform network that will provide better user friendly, not that much complicated, easy to use, and the mission is to bring people together. So already my beta version, which is for web version, is ready already, and I'm busy with iOS, which will be ready as well sometimes next month, December. Then once it's finished, it is quite a massive project, so I need to go for IPO and this kind of stuff because infrastructure is very, very, big, especially pictures, videos that take a lot of data. So that needs it's an ambitious project.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I can see that.
To say that I'm going to have a platform that will compete with Facebook and it will have similar functions, and so there are room for it to have another platform.
Sure. So is Facebook kind of big in kind of South Africa, or is it not really a thing, or some people have it, or how does that kind of work?
Not as Facebook. 2 billion. Over 2 billion means it is almost the world. The entire world is using it. That's why I gave you a ratio.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have 7 billion population and 3 billion that could be under 13, and
I see.
Above 50 maybe above 45 age, there will be another billion, 2 billion. So Facebook has reached its own market segment.
Sure.
So
Okay.
there are rooms just to start up similar platforms. So I think
That's interesting.
which was ConnectSocial, and it's not only like that kind of things. We'll have also providing ride services, or you'll have different platforms which is integrated to it, and it becomes one for all.
No, I think that's cool, man. That's really great. So you're involved in a bunch of kind of philanthropy, kind of nonprofits as well. So walk us through kind of the different kind of philanthropy and kind of nonprofits that you kind of work with or involved in.
Yeah, I'm involved with a number of philanthropic projects. My first one is shoeforchild.org,
Okay.
which is my own, which is based on my own life experience, where I felt to give back to children in need of shoes, uniform, and school bags. More targeting disadvantaged communities who
Okay.
has no shoes, or maybe they have only a pair of shoes. And shoe means it's something for children, even for adults. So
Sure.
I've got this, which I launched in 2012, and I did some few projects here in Johannesburg, South Africa, where I help a school, and that is my first philanthropy project. Then once I started making the film, Bloodline, I brought together a number of charities who is supporting wildlife causes, especially the rhinos.
Sure.
They need, some of them they just cut off their head, so there are doctors, vets that going out there to support, to stop them, to keep them alive. Also, some of the rhinos they kill their mom and they become an orphan, and there are also orphan centers. They provide support for this rhino orphanage. So I made them beneficiary from the film, and I got involved with them, and that is which I did. Now, currently, I'm planning to set up my own charity in US, in Los Angeles, which I'm going to register it when I'm traveling next month. And so that will be quite massive, ambitious project, because my
Sure.
plan is on that, trying to bring some few rhinos out of South Africa to US.
Wow.
And yeah, so that needs enormous kind of strategic thinking and planning to make it happen. So that one will be my like something which I'll be involved to bring a number of rhinos to US zoos, including to like LA Zoo, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not only there, but I think it's gonna happen across US. Try to drop here and there, just to keep their survival. If that doesn't happen, I mean, you don't want to show for your kids. There are wild animal that has got a horn in his head, like a unicorn.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to keep them alive, and yeah, that's my next philanthropy project, which I'm going to offshore register back in the US.
No, that's really cool, man. That's actually,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, that's really cool. So I'm kind of curious. You're involved in so much. How do you kind of manage your day, your kind of week, your month? Because I think, like, a lot of people sometimes find just doing one thing kind of, so time consuming, where you're doing a ton of stuff. Do you just kind of focus for weeks or months at a time on a certain project, or do you dedicate certain days, or how do you kind of manage your time when you're doing all these kind of different things?
It is a focus. I mean, you need to focus on projects that you do. If you try, like my second book, which is already will come early 2018 in
Okay.
January or February, This is a title called Be Unstoppable. And it tells you about delegations and time management and this kind of stuff. It's not like giving you an advice and like an advice or a guideline, but just tells you how I've been managing things.
Okay.
Just from my own experiences, it gives an advice of how to focus and how to delegate. You definitely need to delegate. I mean, a lot of people, what they do is they just take a project, or they've got one and they just, they don't trust other people to do the jobs which can be done with other people. So what I do is I start a project, and once it's taking shape, I just stay back for others to run it.
Okay.
And that is a trust, and that's to have even that kind of confidence to say that somebody need to run it. That's what a lot of people they lack. They don't have that confidence to say that, no, I started these things, this is my baby and it's my job, and they just live on that project, on that business for life.
Sure.
But in my case, I don't do that. I start a project, I focus on it, I make sure it has taken shape, and also people I'm working with, I trust them, I'm open, and I show them, in such ways I can see that they can take this project and run it.
Right.
So that's why if I don't find it, I've got my time frames, and that's why you'll see like a startup workshop now. When I did that, when I work on that one, I was in LA and I was having a PR company. So I thought, with these things, maybe I could be able to assist entrepreneurs here and there. But it didn't happen. And what I did is I just parked it on the side.
Got you.
My project's already done. The blueprint is done. I know what to do with it. But nobody came and took it from me to take it forward. Then I just park it on the side. I don't want to just... It doesn't mean the project is not complete. It's already complete. It's finished. Like the same with Bloodline, for example, the film which I did.
Sure.
My job is already done. Now I'm just saying now, on December or January, somebody needs to take this film away from me because I've got ConnectSocial, which it needs my full attention. For now, with ConnectSocial, it doesn't need my time because there are development team working on developing it.
Right.
So I've got a few questions. It doesn't need my full time.
Sure.
So they are developing. Now they are finishing by December 22. It needs now my full time. It needs my focus. I can't think of Bloodline because somebody needs to take it.
Right.
Then they can do whatever they have to do. So it's a kind of like not piling project to project, but if the project needs me, like Bloodline needs me, I came to a certain stage now, which I packaged it, I made it. Now I'm having a charity as well registered in LA. So the charity now needs my time to bring these rhinos to US. It becomes my other project.
Right.
You understand? So I can't do those multiple projects at the same time, but I need to delegate to other people to run it.
Got you. So how do you kind of pick the people that you work with? Because I think a lot of people would struggle with kind of letting go of their baby, for lack of a better term for it. Like, how do you know that that's the person that needs to run this project?
Most of the times I work on trust, and I see on their passion. Okay. And if the person is willing to take instructions,
interesting.
For me, that is the best one. A lot of time I have challenges. They tend not to take instructions or follow what you have done, and they want to bring their own formula. It doesn't mean I'm not saying I'm not taking in somebody's advice.
Sure.
But you have that vision, and you started, and you know why you started. So any idea comes in, it has to enable for a better. So I work on trust and confidence and faith that this person has passion and he can do these things, because technically the whole job is done.
Sure.
And the person is not coming up and taking the entire risk or putting money or whatever it is. So the entire job is done for this person just to manage it. It's not the hard part of the job is already done, but the remaining part is just to manage and just to follow the course of the product itself. So I've done a lot of similar projects where management takes over and they just run it. So you just need to follow your instinct.
Sure.
Technically, you just need to the biggest problem people is they don't trust other people. So if you have that trust, and if that person is not even effective on delivering, and it will manifest when that person abusing the trust you gave.
Right.
So I'm not afraid to let go of that person, no matter what.
Got you.
No matter what, and no matter what they think that the project doesn't go without these individuals, I'll just let them know, because immediately when you trust them, you start seeing their true color. Some they will appreciate and become loyal and they can get the job done. Some they try to take advantage of your trust.
Got you.
So in such ways, it gives you an advantage as well to see the true color of that individual whom you trusted, and becoming, funnies, and you'll see very quick, and you just let go of that person and bring another person because the project need to continue.
Sure.
So I work based on trust, and the trust for me is like biggest in my advantage. I trust people. In my advantage, it's been helping me a lot. Some they see that the trust is good. They find them getting the job done. Some they find them try to take advantage, which means just not the right person to work with. So you need to have the gut and the confidence to say that you have to move out from my ways. So I have no problem to say that leave or move away from my place. So I can just let them go and get another person. In such ways, things goes on.
No, I think that's really good advice. And as you kind of hire and work with people that you trust and deliver for you, you probably move them on to other projects, once they kind of finish one, or right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, because that's why trust is a key for any working relationship. So my card is in business and my success achievement is I play with my trust card. I show my trust to people whom I'm hiring, and I give them everything I need. So if they appreciate that trust and they take ownership and they start doing their part, then you give them, you reward them, and you motivate them. I mean, you can pay them double, even you can give them as partner. Anything is possible.
Sure.
So most of those people, you trust them, even they don't want more, because they become grateful for the trust which you gave them, for the opportunity which you provided. So you find them delivering and succeeding. So that's how it has been my success game or formula. Some of the people, like, they are very shrewd and very corrupt. When you give them that trust, you'll find them their true color reflecting immediately. Sure. Immediately you'll see showing you unnecessary excuses or coming with different kind of strategies how to get out of you, or trying to put you in corner, because when you trust, that is they start panicking. So that helps us a lot in terms of, for you, immediately you can make a decisions. This is a person or not, and you just let them go.
No, that makes sense. So do you hire people kind of in different parts of the world based on the project that you're working on, or do you try to keep them in South Africa or LA, or how do you kind of deal with the geographic challenges around kind of having multiple projects in many different kind of industries and kind of collaborating with people?
Oh no, it is I outsource, which means I hire companies as project needed.
Okay.
So I don't have like a fixed company for this. For example, I changed 3 PR since last year, November, PR companies.
Okay.
So every PR has got their own roles and they play their own games.
Gotcha.
So if they don't deliver what's expected, then you move on with other PR. We can do the job done. So, but you have to be brave to say that, to have a contingency plan, you have to keep your options open. When you have your options open, then you can be able to be unstoppable. You can just keep moving. Some of the people, they don't think, when you give them a project, they think that you can move on without them. So such as they make a lot of mistakes in such ways. But you have to have that brave and confidence just to take away if the job's not done and move with someone. So in such ways you can succeed. But if not, you end up, contracted to a company that dragging you down, and you don't have paying a lot of money for it, but you see there's no result coming in, then but you got a lot of parameters to test those people, those corporate companies whom you are hiring with. and depending of the deliverables and depending of the reports they are giving you and how they are communicating with you, So there are a lot of factors you're gonna weigh to say that, okay, this is the person who's doing the jobs, and you can have a piece of sleep.
No, I think that's actually really good advice, and I'm kind of curious then, in a traditional kind of week, do you try to work kind of 9 to 5? Are you kind of up in the middle of the night sometimes because you're dealing with people kind of in North America when you're in South Africa? Like, how do you kind of manage your time and kind of your work schedule?
What I do most of the time is, if I've got a project, I avail myself for that project.
Okay.
So my time zone works on that project which I have.
Okay.
If I've got a project, I don't sleep.
Interesting.
Like now I've got a project in LA, so my time zones, like now I'll be awake until 2:00 my time, which means I'll be up until midnight and check emails and reply and whatever it is. Early morning, like maybe I wake up at 6:00, and I've got a team like from India working with my staff. I have to say good morning, then I go back to sleep, and I just have 2-3 hours in the morning. Then lunchtime I have my lunch. I'm back to bed, as if for me it's like night. So now when I wake up to you to have a call, I just wake up from a bed.
Gotcha.
I shouldn't be sleeping, but for your phone call, for me it's like morning. So I am in the same time zone as you, physically and mentally. Mentally, I'm in your time zone.
Interesting.
So I've got the energy as if like I wake up.
Got you. I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So is there any kind of tools that you can recommend, maybe online or like kind of software that you use to kind of manage some of this stuff outside of kind of the traditional kind of calendar stuff? Is there any tools that you use, or not really?
No, I just map. I used to keep diaries back in the days when I was like in high school. So keeping diary, it helps you to memorize what you have done in the day, week, or months. So that helps you to map in your mind. So I don't have any calendars. I use my mind just to map myself.
Interesting.
Which it's a memory development that you developed your minds through times, and it can be able to map and just it just ticks up. I don't use alarm to wake up, but like if your mind is like trained in such ways, it can be able to. A mind can do great things if you have developed it and if you have trained it. So that's the kind of things which I had since like my childhood. I kind of like had a lot of experience. So I don't keep diaries or I don't think. I just map it in my mind.
Interesting. Oh no, that's fascinating. But sadly, we're coming to the end of the show. So let's close with mentioning where people can get more information about yourself and of all the stuff and more that we covered in today's show.
They can visit my website, tarikubogale.com, and they'll find my Facebook, Twitter, and books, and all is there. My films, everything, projects which I'm doing, is out there on my personal website, tarikubogale.com.
Sure, and that's TARIKUBOGALE.com.
Yep, that's the one.
Perfect, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
We'll
talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Please visit the show's website at buildingthefutureshow.com. Also check us out on Facebook at Building the Future Show and follow us on Twitter at Building Show. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.